If you've never done a European river cruise, or maybe even if you have, this is the episode for you. And we're writing this show the day we got back from a 10-day trip to Europe, including a 7-night cruise on the Danube River.
And you know, one thing I love about a river cruise is usually somewhere around that day 3, you stop checking your phone and you stop worrying about what's next. And you really just enjoy sailing from town to town and those amazing river views. And that is the moment why we do this. And so we're super excited to share our experience on our 3rd cruise on the Danube River, sailing from Budapest to Wilshofen.
Hello, my fellow travelers. Welcome. You're listening to the Travel Inspired podcast, or better yet, hopefully watching it on the Travel Inspired YouTube channel. It's way more fun that way.
Yeah, we have visuals.
Unless you're driving. Do not be doing that. We are your travel agent hosts and best-selling cruise authors, Rob and Carrie Stewart, coming from the newly redesigned CMV studio in Orlando, Florida. This is episode number 171, and that is Cruising the Danube River.
And you would only know that we're in the redesigned studio if you're watching us on our YouTube channel.
That is correct.
That link is in the bio, and you're going to continue to see some upgrades.
This was an amazing trip with clients that have become friends over the years, so we want to say hello personally and thank Ann and Bob and Peggy and Tom. It was so much fun traveling with you guys. Also, our new friends, Greg and Jennifer, and sisters, Tiffany and Jennifer. Multiple Jennifers on this particular cruise.
Yeah, and then also Christian and Rob and Rebecca and Frank. You guys were so fun to sail with.
So we're going to plan a cruise for next year as well.
And a special shout out to our new baggie. You may see him back here. There's a really long story here. And Ann and Peggy helped revive that very, very fun memory.
And that was from our Seine River cruise a couple years ago. But long story, you can hear the entire thing on our Disney Travel Secret show. That link to that episode is also in the show description. And it was funny. It even has a Disney Mickey Mouse interaction.
I know, it was so fun. But we are here to tell you a little bit about our travel story on how we got to Budapest, what we did on the river cruise, and it all started because of a canceled flight. So instead of going through Amsterdam, we ended up going through Zurich. But as we were standing in the terminal in Zurich, 2 people came up to us and they said, "Oh my gosh, Rob and Carrie."
And again, that would not have happened without said canceled flight and being rerouted, which you'll hear about in just a second. But not only were they on our flight, they were on our cruise. And they're both travel agents from Canada, and it was a blast seeing them again and hanging out.
Yeah, so we have a lot to tell you. So a little bit of a shout out to Kathy and Kevin.
And the funny thing, Kevin and I were talking, I said, mathematically, what are the odds that 2 years after we see, or yes, no, it was last year.
It's only a year, yeah.
It seems like a long time ago. They're travel agents up in Canada. What are the odds that because of a canceled flight, we're going to be on the same flight with you? Astronomically high odds. And that we're on the same flight because we're on the same cruise. And we just started laughing, and then we drank our beer. Now, before we get into all the details of our 11-day, 10-night trip, if you're counting the overnight on a plane, to get again to Budapest, Hungary, and cruise from there up to Wilshofen, Germany.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, this was our 3rd time cruising the Danube, and we just love this river. If you've never been on a river cruise, this is a good first one. Or if you've been on other ones but haven't sailed the Danube, we highly recommend this particular itinerary.
Okay, but first, a little story about why you really need to pack your patience. And when we say pack your patience, again, we're saying this even as travel agents. Pack your patience in your carry-on. Don't pack your patience in a check bag because you'll lose it. It started as we were taxiing away from the Orlando, the main terminal. We're on the taxiway. And before we took off, we got a message saying that our connecting flight from Dulles to Amsterdam had been canceled.
Yeah. And what really made it worse is that they put us on an old Airbus A330 when we originally were going to be flying on the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Such a bummer.
Okay, side note here. When we're going to Portugal, we're on the A330.
I know. I've already been warned.
So again, now we're both in business class, but the Dreamliner is just a much nicer plane. I've always wanted to fly on one because we never have.
Yeah, which did cause a little bit of, not panic, but just like, oh, now we have to deal with something.
Stress.
Because missing that flight means we maybe have to stay overnight in a hotel at Washington Dulles. Not something we wanted to do.
Do not want to do this. Luckily, we were flying KLM, and luckily we were in business class. So the good news is they rebooked us on another flight. The bad news is then we had an over 7-hour layer in Dulles and an airport lounge. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine, even though I can now, but I can't even imagine though having to spend a 7-hour layover in an airport, but without lounge access would be rough.
Yes.
I will say, as a side note, the airport lounges are getting so busy. They stopped allowing new people in a couple times. We were there for a long time.
Now, the good news is they did reroute us for the same day departure. So instead of connecting through Amsterdam, we connected to Zurich, where we saw Kevin and Kathy. But it also got us into Budapest a lot later than we anticipated.
Yeah, but the bottom line is we did get there just later than anticipated, which means, though, that we did have to redo our private transfers that we had scheduled. No big deal. And I'm really grateful for the tools and the knowledge to know how to adjust that super easily and having booked that to be very flexible. Yeah. That just comes with experience and also just being a travel agent. Little things that we know.
Well, the story gets even better. So just before our flight from Washington to Zurich, we were informed that the water levels on the Danube were too low. So our ship had to stay in Vienna, but we were still going to Budapest.
Yeah. The end result, though, is we only missed one night of our 7-night cruise on the ship. So we ended up doing our 2 nights, which were the pre-cruise hotel, and we were at the Mathilde, which super awesome. We loved staying there. And then because of crazy, scheduling for the third night, they moved us from the Mathilde to a hotel that's pretty much across the street. But that was the Parisi Udvar, which I also really love.
Those are our 2 favorite hotels when staying in Budapest, and the ones we recommend anytime you're going to be staying, I guess, again, in that city. This change did give us even more time to hang out at a couple of our favorite restaurants. One of them being Marty's, which has now been renamed, and the other one is Il Pastel, which is probably the 5th time in 3 or 4 years
we've been there multiple times.
Yes. And Budapest really is one of our favorite cities in that region, and this was our 3rd time there.
Now, unfortunately, we did have to miss our excursion in Bratislava, Slovakia, which was by choice. But some of the passengers still went because they went ahead and bussed them down to go to that one. We love this port, but we are not a fan of long bus rides. And we just had one the day before because they did bus us from Budapest up to Vienna to catch the ship where it was waiting for us.
Yes.
Now, on the good side, though, we did have extra time when we did go to Vienna because we did a little overnight there. And we were able to do some shopping, which may have happened. And let's just say this was an expensive stop, but a good one.
It was. Now, if you asked us, what are your 2 favorite cities in that region? Definitely Vienna and Budapest are, I'd say, neck and neck. And they're both capital cities of their respective countries. There are a few choices when it comes to cruising the Danube as we get into that. The 2 main ones would be either the Upper Danube or the Lower Danube.
Yeah, so the Upper Danube would be Budapest, Hungary to Wilshofen, Germany, or you do the reverse.
The Lower Danube would be Budapest, so again, same starting point, to Giurgiu, Romania, or the reverse. And this particular itinerary is definitely on our to-do list. I want to go south from Budapest down to Romania and the Black Sea.
Yeah, because it's very different itinerary, different cities. But one of the things I looked forward to the most was the ship we were sailing, because this was the 2nd time that we've been on her. Now, last year, we sailed on a smaller ship. But given the option, I love this class. Yes. It is definitely our favorite in, I would say, all of the river cruise fleets.
Absolutely.
Amongst all the companies. Yes. And the ship is AmaWaterways AmaMagna. And this is one of their, I would say this is their flagship. Until
next year when they get the sister ship, but it's named after Rudy, who's the founder. So brother ship is
I don't know. You know what? I wonder what they'll call it.
And
that's a good question.
And we're actually planning a cruise on the Danube on the Rudy next year. So of our 3 cruises on the Danube, again, 2 of them were on this very ship. And if we're going back on a river cruise and we've chosen the same ship, that's what we call a clue. And what makes this ship so different is it's twice as wide as pretty much every other ship on the river.
Yeah, a typical river cruise ship is going to hold around 175 people. This one holds just over 195. I think it's 196 to be exact.
Yes.
So it's double the width, the same length, but not double the people, which means there are larger cabins and bigger and better public spaces.
And they have a lot of suites, which really enhances the onboard experience.
Yeah, and the suites come with extra perks too. Like you get free laundry, you get a bottle of champagne, a bottle of wine, you get fresh fruit in your room daily. Just little nice VIP touches.
It also means this ship has some of the best staff of the entire company. And I want to specifically thank Mattia, who's the cruise director. And this is another really cool story.
Yeah, so if you didn't know this, Rob is a big watch lover and a watch collector. And I remember having this conversation with you a week or two, I think, before we even went over on this trip.
So I bought a very specific watch a little over 4.5 years ago, and it's called Meistersinger. And what makes this watch very unique, it is a one-handed watch, which is, it's not the only one in the world, but I've never seen another one-handed watch other than Meistersinger. So no second hand, no minute hand. And I had bought one about 4.5 years ago. It was a limited edition. I think it was one of 250. And I bought it strictly to sell. It was an investment. It was brand new in the box. I never wore it, never even tried it on.
Yeah, it was a beautiful watch though, but which you kept it to sell it. So that was good. And then you did buy me one, and I absolutely love my Meistersinger. And when I do wear a watch, it is the only one that I wear. And I get compliments all the time on it.
Now, the irony, neither one of us are wearing the Meistersinger right now.
No, we are not.
I'm wearing a Hublot and she's not wearing one. So. Now, I may have to blame this next little story on Facebook. I'm pretty sure it was a Facebook ad for Meistersinger. And they have what they call city editions. And I think there are maybe 20 or 25 different cities around the world. And I had called the local Meistersinger dealer here in Orlando, and she told me that you have to be in whatever that city is to get it.
Well, and you love Vienna, so you specifically wanted the Vienna edition. And there are probably, I would say, 15 plus watch stores in Vienna. If you've never been, they have fabulous shopping.
Just in the main walking square, almost every little walkway has a couple of watch shops.
And they don't have one that's specific that's just Meistersinger. No. So we had no idea which one that we should go to find this watch.
So not only did Matthew find the only store that had one, I was talking to him at his little cruise director desk, which was about 10 feet from our cabin. And he put me on the phone. He made a couple calls. He put me on the phone with this guy at the store. And this guy said, not only do they have one, they had just unboxed it that morning and were about to put it in the window. I said, don't even bother. Don't worry about that. I will be there very soon to pick it up.
I know, which may sound like a sales ploy, but these watches have a set price by Meistersinger, and this is only one of 10 of the 2026 Vienna edition. So it's super special. So the cruise director, he put the address in my phone, and then he called us a taxi.
And this particular store was not in, if you go to Vienna, you're pretty much going to stay in like the city proper where the cathedral is, all the restaurants and shops and all the things there. So this particular store was not in that area. So I would have gone to different watch shops asking them. None of them would have known. The area I'm talking about is basically, they call it the city center. Again, never would have found it. So that's when a cruise director really goes over and above the normal things that they do. And again, a 1 of 10 watch of any kind is very, very special.
Yeah, and what was really funny to me was the guy at the store, he didn't realize how limited of an edition it was. He gave you like a little bit of a discount
because we were
gonna, so we were going to buy it right then. And then he's getting the paperwork, and then he had really wide eyes and said, "Oh my gosh, this is number 3 of 10." And you said, "Yes, it is."
I also asked him, do you happen to have more than one? Because I definitely would have bought a second one just as an investment to pay for the first one. He said no, and no one else in this city will have one. I was like, fair enough. However, now he's my contact. So if they get another 2027 Vienna, I've got his card and he will ship it to me. No, I'm not going to tell you which store it was. He's my contact.
He's your little secret. Now, I will say the look on his face, though, was pretty funny because he didn't even realize how special it was.
Okay, now back to the AmaMagna on the Danube. Another thing that made this incredibly special for us, this particular cruise, is that, again, not only have we sailed this ship before, we stayed in the exact same suite. And for those of you who would like to go on this cruise, we highly recommend Suite 201. As a matter of fact, we made a little video, and we'll drop that into the link with all the information.
Yeah, so it's not only the closest cabin to pretty much everything, it's also Christine Karst's favorite cabin, and she's one of the co-founders of the cruise line.
So again, we'll put a link to our walkthrough walking on the ship and how close we are to the cabin. And then we'll do a little cabin tour. These cabins are amazing.
Yeah. Now, for the itinerary, our trip hit 4, but technically you could say 5 countries.
Yes.
We went to Hungary, Slovakia, Austria, and Germany. And there was one excursion where you could have gone to Czech Republic.
Yes.
That was a special excursion that you could have done.
Exactly. I went up to Prague. And again, we had to skip Slovakia. Technically, we could have, after we got to Vienna, we could have taken the bus back to Slovakia. We're like, no, we'll just kind of hang out. A little bit too long of a bus ride for us. And for the most part, the itinerary is the same. You're going to visit the 2 big ports, Budapest and Vienna, but the other cities are very small cities that are very, very iconic cities in this area of Europe.
Yeah, and Bratislava is one of our favorites. It's very quaint, and right across the river there is where the Iron Curtain is. And just hearing the stories of the people who live there and remember that time in history is just crazy.
So one of our guides was telling us about, she remembers when the wall came down and they could finally travel to Austria. And she still carried her passport from way back then, and the story she had of just the release of being able to cross that border into Austria.
Yeah, and one story was so special that she shared with us about how she remembers being able to buy a banana when they went to Austria. And you know what, when we say travel changes you, hearing these touching stories really makes you better understand the people in the countries that you are visiting on the river. It's fascinating to me.
One of the other highlights on our stops was a visit to a farm, which is family owned. It's now being run by the daughter, and they make wine and also grow fruit that they sell they take it to the different farmers markets, but they also had it at the location where we were. And the pride and history of these small villages is something that makes visiting these small cities even more interesting.
Yeah, they are filled with so much history, and each town has its own personality. Like Linz has this really great square, and they have this church where I remember the first time that we were visiting it, we're being walked through, and our guide is telling us all about these stained glass windows and how different townspeople were featured and what they did. And one of the guests said, "Where is Jesus in here?" And what was kind of funny, he's like,
not the real Jesus, but
well, yeah, the real Jesus.
He's been gone for a couple thousand years.
No, the real Jesus, because he wasn't on any of the stained glass that were in the prominent places like normally you see.
Exactly.
And the guide said, he's over around the corner. And the reason is because people paid to have their special stained glass up because it was kind of like an advertisement. So again, something just very fascinating and different. You learn
funny.
some really great stories. That's one of my favorites.
And one of our last stops on this cruise was Passau, and we love this town. On this itinerary, it was really a short stop for a couple hours, so this particular itinerary was too short. Most in our group said this was one of their favorite stops. The clean streets, the shops, and one of the most unique churches make this town very different from the other ones. So we sat at a cafe and we love to people watch, and we saw cars go by out of this little tunnel, and they had a rare sighting of a Ferrari.
Yeah. Well, and it was very rare because most all the cars in Europe are very small.
Exactly.
Even the vans are small. But on a river cruise, your transportation to excursions, if it's needed, is included. It's usually on a bus. Or you can just walk into the towns because these ports are right off the river.
When choosing this itinerary, you're going to visit most of the same towns. What makes it different is the time that you do spend in each port. So consider that. If, for example, you want to spend more time in a place like Passau or even Bratislava.
Yeah, so the Danube, though, it's a great starter itinerary. And I feel like AmaWaterways offers several variations of it. So if you want to learn more about the history along this river, or maybe you want to experience what I love, which is the Wachau Valley, and some amazing wines from this region and beautiful views on the sailing, this is such a great option.
And something worth mentioning, all the river cruise companies do the Danube, whether it's Viking, Avalon, Uniworld, all of them do this. So if you're very, very price conscious of Viking, everybody knows Viking, they're a good option for this as well. We will be back definitely, it's actually probably next summer. And each time we visit, we learn something new.
Yeah, and when you do visit a place more than once, so if you've been on this one before, think about this. One nice thing is just do different things. And we love, one of the things Ama does is they offer multiple excursions every day. So there will be an active, a regular, and a gentle. So all levels of activity, but a good variety for sure.
Also keep in mind the cities you visit, other than the big cities, lots of cobblestone. So very uneven. Again, some of these cities are more than 1,000 years old.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I will say one of the highlights was that, and this was new to us. So we've been to Budapest before, but on this particular trip, one of the excursions was to some Roman ruins in Budapest. I didn't even know they had those.
I did not either.
And this was a special city that was built 2,000 years ago, which is crazy.
When everything was Roman.
Yeah, no, it was. And so they had, there was an aqueduct that we saw, and just the stories of what happened in that town and like where the soldiers were. So if you like that kind of thing in Roman history, you would love this trip because it's everywhere.
And again, our favorite thing is in Budapest and Vienna, we went to places we'd gone to before. It becomes like a thing. It's like, oh, we're going to go in Vienna. We went to this place called Legak. And I sent a picture. We were sitting, they had the window open, outdoor patio. And I took a picture of it and I sent it to my partner, Jen. She goes, where is that? I'm like, that's where we had our first meeting in 2023 where we talked about a new partnership. So and now for a little more drama that we needed to have more patience for. We had booked 3 Black Lane private transfers at the same time, just one after the other, one for us, one for 2 couples, and one for another couple. So the night before we were supposed to leave, 2 of the transfers were fine, but ours got canceled just 12 hours before we were supposed to get picked up.
Now, I'm glad that our other clients, though, were fine because that would have caused me a lot more stress because transfers from Bilshofen aren't easy to get and they are expensive. So I was like, great. The cruise line isn't taking any new transfers. And for that reason, because they are so hard. And then our go-to source canceled us. Our backup doesn't pick up at this port anymore. But that is where our cruise director, Matthias, stepped up. And he came to the rescue. He said, I've got you. So he got us a taxi that would take the 4 of us to Munich airport, where more drama ensued.
This episode is just full of drama. As we were walking back from the watch store to get back to kind of the city square, maybe a 15 or 20 minute walk, again, to get back into the heart of Vienna, where everybody wants to hang out, you wanted to go look at the Louis Vuitton store. And I know it was like we were doing window shopping. You looked through the window, and the exact thing you said to me was, do not let me go in there.
I know. And of course, while walking around with our friends the next day, we did exactly that. And I found a purse that I instantly fell in love with. The shopping experience was fabulous.
And when you're buying something like that in a foreign city, you have to declare it when you go through customs at whatever airport you happen to be going through. And you can get it tax-free. Because in this case, the tax number for that purse was fairly high.
Now, we did find out that the Munich airport was doing a ton of construction in our terminal, and it's a very confusing airport because nobody knew where things were. So definitely we prefer flying out of Frankfurt, but that was not an option. We were in Munich.
So we went and found the lounge, and you probably took, it seemed like it was probably a good 2 hours.
It was almost 2 hours.
Because we went to the little, customs place outside of the security.
Yeah, and then we went to the tax place, and they said, oh, you have to go on airside and get it stamped, and then you have to go back. And we were getting all kinds of information, because when we did get to the lounge, and we were asking the guy, he's like, no, you need to go back out, and you'll have to go through security again. There's another office. Let me just tell you, I was sent back and forth, and this literally went on for 2 hours. I talked to police officers. I talked to people who work there. I talked to information.
The security people now know her first name.
But they didn't even know where to go. There's like, all this construction. They just changed the walls. Let's just say I got it done. It was quite the drama. And I'm super grateful that we got there in plenty of time because that tax refund is going to be worth it.
Yes, thankfully, yes. So sometimes the funnest or craziest memories on a cruise like this are when the drama ensues, because you have really fun travel stories.
Yeah, and you know what, though? You also learn a lot. And as a travel agent, our own travels help us be better to help our clients learn from our challenges and also from the things that we love.
And I'll give you a little pro tip, because on the way back, we were flying Iceland Air, which in general is a pretty good airline. I will never fly Iceland Air through Reykjavik again. The weird thing about this is I knew it was about a 4-hour flight to Reykjavik. For some odd reason, I thought it was only 4 or 5 hours from Reykjavik back to Orlando. It was not.
No, it was not.
And when you're flying out of this airport, you have to carry your luggage out and up the stairway, out on the tarmac.
Or down the stairway.
Oh, if you're getting off.
And then up again.
And so, walking up the stairs, and, it was kind of a day full of drama because of what had just happened.
And we were late arriving, so we had little to no time on our connecting flight. Again, a lot of drama.
so as we were, walking up the stairs, and the flight attendants could tell people were kind of stressed, and she goes, "Don't worry, you have 8 hours to relax." We go to our seat. I'm like, "This flight's 8 hours?"
And I was like, "Yes, it is."
I don't know why I thought it was 4 or 5. So anyway, another fun story. But again,
overall, it was a great trip.
I will never fly through Reykjavik again. I hate carrying luggage down steps. In this case, when we got there, it was raining, and then you have to go get into the bus and stand there until it's fully loaded. I mean, fully loaded. So anyway, we love working with river cruise clients to help you find the perfect itinerary and the right ship and cruise line, because there are a lot of options.
Yeah, so tune in next week, because we're going to walk you through the things that make each river cruise line unique and some different ship features to consider if they're important to you. Things like an indoor swimming pool, an open bar, a pickleball court, or chef's tables. There's lots of things that are unique.
And currently there's only one pickleball court, and that's on the ship we run.
Yes.
We had a video. We were doing a kind of a little walk-in talking video. We completely forgot to play pickleball.
I think we're okay.
We are.
Another reason to go back.
And if we can help you plan your next adventure, please head over to creatingmagicvacations.com and click on the obvious. Plan a vacation.
Yeah, so let's get your next adventure on the books. And thank you so much for listening. And if you're enjoying our show, we would love for you to give us a 5-star review to help others who love traveling find our show.
And we'll leave you with this, which is our new favorite motto: stop scrolling and start going.